Real news. Honest and fun political talk weekly on the line 90.7 FM. Welcome back, everyone, to Real News Uncensored. We are uncensored again for another week, but we'll be back within, I think, like 4 or 5 weeks now, getting closer to the real show. So subscribe to the channel right now to stay up to date on that, and follow us on all social media platforms that we're still on. Haven't been banned yet, but it'll come one day. So use those links below to keep up with us and to know when all the cool stuff's coming out. So we're going to start off with the main story that nobody expected to be a story, but it became one and took over all the headlines. So Trump sent out a tweet where he attacked AOC and the Squad. Squad is like these 4 progressive-y sort of people that are kind of with her on a lot of stuff. They kind of form like their own little clique, let's say, in Congress. And he said a bunch of stuff in a long tweet. I'll just find a juicy part that people start losing their minds over. Because he said, and I quote, because it's important to read the full thing here, because many news outlets weren't. He said, "Why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came from? Then come back and show us how it is done. These places need your help badly. You can't leave fast enough." Now, all he said was for them to go back and then come back. He didn't say for them to leave and never come back ever again. He never said they should be forced out. He never said any of these things people are saying that he's saying. The key part there is the come back part. Then they can come back and show us how to fix these places. What he was simply just doing there was very, very simple strategy and very effective. He made the Socialist Squad the face, the leaders of the Democratic Party. He made Nancy Pelosi defend these people that had just called her racist a few days ago. He forced her to embrace them. And it's exactly what happened. If you look at any of the news coverage, you'll see that. And it's all playing out for an entire week, which was unbelievable. Did you guys have a different reaction to this? I know some people kind of split reactions on our side, but what did you guys think of it?
Love it, leave it. I think he should have said, if you don't love this country, get back, get out, go to somewhere else. You want to live in a socialist country, live in Venezuela. You want to go and live in some place that's, quote unquote, not racist. Say that America is the most racist country in the world. Why don't you go off to I don't know, some other place you don't think is racist, some place like in Africa or something, if you think that that's such a better place because it's run by black people. Those places are some of the most racist places in the world, and they say that America should be more like them. Look at South Africa. Look at a lot of African countries. What you see over there is a history of tribalism over there, where they'll have one group, whatever, one ethnic group within this country commit genocide against something. This happened in Rwanda. This happened in Zimbabwe. This is a common occurrence. But, for them to go and complain about America and say, we're a terrible country and we're full racists and this and that, and get out of here. Maybe not. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care if you're an elected official. If you're a communist or a socialist or a communist or socialist sympathizer, I think that is un-American.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I'll even go one step further. I think you're a traitor because, I believe that capital, our system is the driving American system, and we denounce socialism in its utmost form. We became a great power just to not be a socialist country. We had the Cold War, we had all these, it's we're fighting socialism. We've been fighting socialism throughout American history, and it's if you think that socialism is so great, why don't you go to one of these countries in which socialism is prevalent and share with us your views once you go there, and once you go to Venezuela and see them picking food out of trash cans and shit, and seeing the money, the gobs of money that's on the street because it's fucking worthless, right? Why? Yeah, share with me that information, and then tell me how great it is. Like, please. Um, I don't. I thought that the tweet was fucking genius because
It is genius.
yeah, because it forced them to make the squad the party, basically, by doing that. And then you played into their sensitivity, like you played into their social sensitivity, and uh and didn't say anything, didn't say it was racist, that it wasn't really you didn't really say anything directly racist, but you worded it to where you played into their sensitivities.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, by not only having all four of those weirdos have that press conference afterwards
Yep.
to denounce it, then you had all the Democratic leaders, right?
Yeah, in the House. Yeah.
Jump all over it to denounce it.
Yep.
With them. Now you just got them all together, right? All of them are now together, and you've essentially made those four weirdos the face of the Democratic Party. And I think it was just glorious.
Exactly. Like, look.
Wait, real quick. Didn't they have after that? Like, didn't they try to go and impeach Trump again? Like, they tried to push something through the House.
They did. It was I forget that guy's name. I think it's Al Green. Like, pushed articles of impeachment. They passed the thing in the House trying to condemn what he said. I think that did go through. But it's like, it's silly. They spent so much time over a tweet. And the genius is like what Phil says, that he used this because he knew it's provocative enough that it will get their emotions up and it will get them to do exactly what he wants. It's like chess. This is literally, I know the 3D chess, 4D chess meme is such a meme that's always used with him, but there are a lot of times when it makes perfect sense, and this is one of them where he is forcing, because this is what you do in chess, you force your opponent to make moves that you want them to make. It's not necessarily about the moves you make, it's the moves that you force your opponent to make, and that's how you sort of play the game. That's how you control the other side and get what you want in the end, and that's exactly what he did here. And I'm surprised nobody has branded the squad the Socialist Squad yet, but I bet you're going to start seeing that. And what's also interesting is how they saw race in something where it was never mentioned. It has nothing to do with that, but they quickly all jumped to that, and you saw every CNN headline was saying Trump's racist tweets, or so-and-so condemns Trump's racist tweets. They were reporting it like it was factually racist. That's what type of time we live in now, where it's not even an opinion anymore. You know, that's a subjective term. It's like saying it's the exact same thing as if saying something is good or bad, or whatever ism you can throw at. They're reporting opinion as if it's fact. They're reporting analysis as if it's fact.
Didn't that also get like Nancy Pelosi? Didn't she get sanctioned for like calling Trump racist or something?
Yeah, I don't understand, but she basically broke the rules of the House when she was saying something, and they tried to get her for it. It's a little weird. It's one of those things that nobody's really explained.
Like, I don't think you can just call like people racist in like the House or Senate. I think that's like against, and it makes sense because he calls someone racist is one of those things where you can't really prove or disprove. So
it's trying to prove a negative.
Yeah, because everything is recorded, and if you say somebody's racist and they're really not a racist, that's like a false accusation on congressional record. Like you can't get a worse, like you can't get worse proof of more proof of a false accusation than congressional record. But no, the one thing when we one of the common opinions of progressive liberals, right, is that they are emotionally unstable to the point of predictability. Like they're emotionally unstable, and by Trump dropping those tweets, and then the progressives answering it like they did,
Yep.
vilified everybody, right? It basically proved all of those people that branded them emotionally unstable, branded them correct. You just proved all of them right. So,
Yep, exactly.
yeah.
It proves every sort of, you know, like a staple that we've always had of them, every stereotype we've always had, just proved it right away. That they're
Yep.
unhinged, they're crazy, they call everything they dislike racist. And it's working into his hands because now he's framing the sort. It really is just the frame of the 2020 election is going to be a choice between pro-America and anti-America. That's what he's setting up. And regardless who the Democrat nominee is, who I think is going to be Kamala, I'm still betting money on that, he's going to still lump her in with them. He's going to force her to defend them. He's going to make them the face. The squad, the Socialist squad is going to be the face that he's going to be running against, not Kamala. It's going to be interesting to watch. But people have just been talking about this the entire week. There's been nothing else people have been more focused on than this, so it's fascinating. Very, very fascinating.
Yeah, I just think it'll be it's not going to help them with voters because they're just going to see this as more bring racism and racialism, and and that's a fine thing too because a lot of cucks, they're like, Trump used a racially charged tweet. They're too afraid to go and say he said something racist. Like they want to go and use this flowery language around it, and that's the true showing of a cuckold Republican. They're too afraid to go and say, hey, this is racist, but this is a racialist tweet, and that word, I don't think that word fucking exists.
No, it's like when they say communistic. That's not a word. It's just communist. They always have this istic, ick, that does that. It's already an adjective. You don't need to make it like an extra adjective.
I'm surprised that like the college Republicans have made a tweet. It's like, oh, we condemn Trump's. Well, they probably did actually.
No. You're close. You're already onto something. The people that used to be on the board, and some that were going to be in higher positions, have all condemned it and said those exact same things. They've used that same sort of language.
That's how you.
It's a good thing they're out.
It's a good thing someone stopped them.
You're welcome, America. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Like that whole tweet it was just very well done. So it kind of like revealed the true like cucks in the party.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're the ones who are like calling him basically racist, and then it's like, oh, yeah, everyone's racist now. You ever say, you don't love it, leave it. That's racist. If you don't like America and you don't like the people, if you don't like the people, the politicians who are like communists and stuff, that means you're like a racist if you tell them to leave.
And they're like, the whole thing is they're trying to say, oh, if you don't, the racist part was you basically told a bunch of brown people that if you like to leave the country, and like, no, I'm like, look, if you're white and you're a socialist,
yeah,
feel free to get the fuck out.
Yeah,
like, feel free to go the fuck out, right?
Well, guess who else he said to go home? The British ambassador, who is white.
Yeah.
Good, that ambassador, didn't he get like some leaks where he was like criticizing Trump or something?
Yeah, there were some leaks, and he eventually had to resign. It was so bad. And the other thing too is, on a personal note, I remember, I think you saw this, Alex, when I was on a group, I posted like a poll that said chopsticks are dumb, and I thought it was a little provocative, it was funny, but also I was trying to prove a point, because they are dumb, and I was curious to see what people thought if they saw what I was seeing in those useless utensils. And one guy said, sounds like something the leader of the white pride movement would say. And I'm like, Where are you getting this from? They're seeing racism where there is none.
Yeah, if you like, didn't you also get yelled at for like criticizing rap as a genre, and they were like, "Oh, that's racist."
Oh, that was somewhere else, I think. I know somebody else that we know that criticized some music genres and got into a bit of trouble for it.
Yeah, but like, here's the thing, everything now is seen through this like fucking racist lens.
Yep, exactly.
That's just the fucking cancer on America. We can't be just saying everything's racist, everything's this, everything's that. Like, for chopsticks, for instance, like I mean, I personally think it is a great weight loss tool because you physically cannot eat, as fast as you would with like a spoon. With a spoon, you can just gobble down shit into your mouth. But with like chopsticks, yeah, same thing with the fork. You just gobble up fucking pieces of cake. Try eating cake with a chopstick.
Try eating soup with chopsticks.
Well, they wouldn't do that because you physically can't. But like, try eat rice. Like, you'd eat like one fucking grain of rice at a time or something crazy like that if you use chopsticks.
Well, yeah, but aren't you gonna eat the same thing but slower?
Yeah, that's the benefit.
It's
So you
idiotic.
won't give yourself as much. Why do you think there's not as many like outside of sumo wrestlers? Why do you think there's not that many like fat Asians in like Asia?
Wasn't that because they have different diets?
Are they different diets? Because they eat everything with fucking chopsticks.
Okay.
It's a weight loss tool that is a Asian weight loss mechanism that has been recently, like, you could probably make a bunch of money by selling them, by marketing them, hint hint, that this is a weight loss tool that is very effective, and it will, you don't need to go and really change your diet. You just change how much you eat because you can't eat too much. But it's like in Maryland, we used to have like I used to live in Maryland. They had like crab feasts all the time, but not like crab cakes.
It's crab
When
haven there.
You would get like crabs, and you'd have to like crack them open. And that takes a while. You're not going to eat as much crabs as you would like a crab cake, just because how difficult that is. Just cracking them open with the boys.
Well, the other thing too is like for me, I need to gain weight, so there's no point in me using chopsticks.
Yeah, but like, what about for it's a smart thing.
It is not. They are useless inventions. We have evolved. We have innovated. We have created forks. We've created knives. We've created spoons. You just pick them up and you use them. It's pick them up and play.
Yeah, that's why America has an obesity problem.
Well, okay, it's a bit more than that, but like, why do we have
chopsticks? You would not be eating as much shit. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, because you won't be eating anything because you can't even like hold them.
Yeah, it's skill. It's like doing drifting in like motorsports. It's not necessarily that it's a great way to do it, but it looks cool, and it really pisses off people who are too low IQ to use the chopsticks.
Oh, okay, I see what it is now. But like, see, actually, I think that's why some people do it. To be honest with you, is to feel superior. I think there's a superiority complex in it. But like, what is the advantage to it other than your sort of weight loss idea? Like, you can't. They're not as user friendly. They're not simple. They're hard to use. You have to learn how to use them. You shouldn't have to learn how to use it.
It is like driving a manual transmission car.
Yes, but this is eating. This is survival.
We don't live in a survival world. We live in a world where, even poor people can like be fat, and this is a way to prevent that. Try eating potato chips with a fucking chopstick. It's gonna take a lot. You're gonna be eating that serving size because like your fingers are gonna get like what's that thing where you keep typing on the clackety clackety? You get carpal tunnel. You keep trying to just like gobs of shit.
I don't know. Maybe that's good there because then you won't get all like the salt and stuff on your like fingers. But it's like I can't. I've been taught, or people have tried to teach me multiple times how to hold them. It is impossible. I don't know how you're supposed to hold them.
Asian people, they have guides on how to do this.
See, you don't get like your fork and then you have like this like instruction manual next to it saying, oh, this is how you use a fork. No, you just pick it up and you use it. It's simple, it's smart, it's
It's
efficient,
just a
it's
big
idiot
brain
proof.
eating mechanism.
Oh yeah, I bet people that watch Rick and Morty, they all use chopsticks. I'm telling you, Phil, do you use chopsticks?
When I go eat sushi, yeah.
There you go. And he watches Rick and Morty. And Alex, you've watched it too. You
So
use
yes, I
chopsticks.
have. Yes, I have, and I've used chopsticks. It's not
And
that
who
hard.
has not watched this? Okay, watch 5 seconds of it, but who
Okay,
does not watch
you
this
have
show?
watched it.
And
You
who
honestly,
uses
your
smarter
IQ is low.
utensils?
You need to increase your IQ, and to do that, like, see, it increases hand-eye coordination. It's a training tool.
Okay.
You know, they eat soup with. They have like spoon-like devices to eat soup. You know, it's just with this, it's easier too because it's cheaper. For a fork, you have to make it out of metal. It's a risk. Like, let's
You're gonna
if
get
someone could go and like
splinters from
mass
chopsticks.
chopsticks. I mean spoons, or forks. Forks are a risk. You know, if you live in like some cuckold country like England. So I'm surprised England hasn't like deep dove into using chopsticks because it's a lot hard to go and like stab someone to death with a chopstick. Not that it's impossible.
Ooh, well, if you just sharpen the edge of it, like get some sand. I'm surprised they haven't banned. Okay, they'll that will happen, but then people take sandpaper to the end, and you'll have a real pointy thing. You can take someone out easily with that. So then we'll have to ban sandpaper.
I'm surprised they haven't banned angle grinders in there because like my dad was over here the other week and we were sharpening the blades of the lawnmower, and I was just like, dude, you can sharpen that shit in like 5 seconds. Like, I'm surprised in England they're just not buying like, you know, like 80% knives and then just like sharpening them with the fucking angle grinder and then making like machetes out of them.
You're gonna need a license for that too, mate.
They do, like, good lord. Like, I remember I saw a meme and there was like a fucking Play-Doh scissors. You had to be 18 years older to buy the Play-Doh scissors. Because there's like
18? You don't even know what you at that age you've thrown out your Play-Doh.
It's like a catch-22.
It's a cucky catch-22.
England's fucked.
Oh god. Yeah, that's when you know you're on
Yeah,
the
by the time you're 12, you're already playing with other shit.
Yeah. You're playing with big boy toys, if you know what I mean.
That wasn't funny, dude. No, I'm just playing. I'm kidding. That was kind of funny, sort of.
I was just gonna let it simmer off a bit because we can edit this out. So I thought, let's just we'll act like that didn't happen. Anyway, so another bit of news that's still happening actually right now is San Diego Comic-Con is happening right now. A lot of trailers have been dropping. Cory Booker's going around taking selfies, which it's less interesting than it sounds. But the major trailers that have dropped are the Witcher TV series, which is based off the books and I guess kind of the video game, and it's gonna be a Netflix series. It's gonna be sort of the heir to Game of Thrones. There's the Star Trek Picard trailer that just dropped a few hours ago. That's gonna continue that saga, that universe, rather than making prequels or reboots or anything. It's actually going to be new stuff. The Top Gun Maverick trailer, which showed Tom Cruise flying a plane and riding a motorcycle, so pretty much every Tom Cruise film, but it still looks better than I expected it to be. There was the Westworld Season 3 trailer, which looked pretty interesting. It had Aaron Paul, which was really cool. Had some Pink Floyd in one of the trailers. And the Watchmen trailer was really interesting. I think that's going to be a big hit, that show. And the Primal trailer by Genndy Tartakovsky, who did our favorite not anime, Samurai Jack. But other than that, I was a pretty, big load of trailers. It was a pretty big load.
Yeah, season 4 premiere of Rick and Morty.
Yes, I heard about that too. Did it actually premiere?
Do your chopsticks, man. Watch it.
Get sharpen your chopsticks.
That's right.
I didn't pay much attention to Comic-Con. I don't know. They can do their fun stuff, but like, I don't know, dude. It's just something like I've been to an anime convention before. I've seen the sort of like people that go over. None of they're bad people, but like the smell.
Oh, that dude! It smelled like
disgusting
Chinese
thing.
kitty litter.
Dude, it smelled like someone didn't bathe for like a week, and like, and there was like and these were girls that were smelling like that too. It wasn't like just some like sweaty guy like jacking off in some like Sailor Moon outfit. No, this was like, real like females that were smelling like they didn't wash themselves in a fucking week, and it was just like I was on a bus like a while ago, and I remember seeing this like homeless guy on there, and I was like, this smells a lot like the anime convention.
I remember when we did that. That was during the inauguration. Remember that?
Yeah, that was funny. I think we have a video somewhere, but that's gonna probably.
Yeah, that's something that if you know us on a personal level, you can ask us about, or if you're in the area, you can ask us about, and we can give you an exclusive screening. But that's something that's it was an experience. It was I wouldn't call it enlightening. I'd call it more frightening.
It was a red pilling moment. It's like, yeah, this is why people don't like anime, because the people involved like were like smelling like dirty asshole, and there was like furries, and then you had people bitch about Trump in like some like Q&A, and they had like some just autistic conversations there. They're like, oh yeah, well I had like, what was your like favorite like wet dream or something? It was just like some awkward shit, and then there are some black guys yelling like, do you eat ass? I just remember that part. That was funny.
I do remember that.
Like the fat Pokemon people that were like belly dancing.
Oh yeah, the belly dancers, yeah. They had music going to and everything. It was, what else was there? There was, the best part, the part I remember the most was the food. Remember when we had the burgers with the giant like platter of fries that they put like on this giant like piece of paper?
I remember that. That was fun. That was well worth that part. But like,
remember when you were talking to the waitress about it? You're like describing the convention. She's like, "Oh, were you guys here for that?" And we were like, "Kind of."
You don't want to be associated with that.
Oh god, that was funny. Yeah, I remember just my initial reaction when walking out of that thing was like, this is why people like Hitler rise to power.
Yeah, this is like, and that wasn't even that bad of a like convention, I don't think. So I've been like, they have other ones where it's just like furries and shit, and that just gets god awfully disgusting, where it's like even worse. I mean, there was some furries there, but it was mostly like, just regular weebs looking at anime.
Well, we saw one unmasked. We saw behind the mask of the furry, remember? And they had like a bodyguard.
Yeah, and it was a girl furry, and she was like dating some like black guy who I don't think really was there. He was just like whatever.
He was some like big like football player too. Like he was like a beefy guy. He looked so like, totally like different from everybody else at that place.
He was out of his comfort zone.
Or he was out of a lot of comfort zones.
Oh.
I don't
think they had that.
What?
Yeah, that was a fun event. And I remember like the stupid movie about like the train. I was just like, this is the most boring shit. But then they had like right before that, there was like some movie about some guy who was like,
oh yeah, the lawyer.
Yeah, it was like the lawyer, like, and some guy was like getting in trouble for like looking at porn or something.
Yes. Oh, see, I actually liked the train one. It was kind of like atmospheric and like, moody and like relaxing.
Shit. It was like, oh yeah, let's go and describe this train. And I just remember they had that part where there was an paper airplane over there. I was like, I'm surprised someone hasn't made like a 9/11 meme out of this.
Well, somebody did.
I look at all this weird stuff and I keep asking myself, are we like, how fucked are we when Trump leaves? Because there's nobody, because like, okay, so whenever he leaves, where like, whether it's 2020, 2024, whatever, like what happens? Because there's yeah, and it's like, what happens? Because there's nobody, like the Republicans have nobody like Trump. Like
That's
Trump is far and away. He is far and away their best asset. Like and like where do they go? Where do they go after that? Because it's like I don't know.
Well, the thing is, he is a very unique person in general. He's one of the most persuasive people to ever live, one of the most successful people to ever live, one of the most talented people to ever live. He's a one of a kind, and you're not going to find anything like him for a long time. But what you can do is find a successor, somebody that can continue this legacy, this populist nationalist legacy, somebody that's got the same beliefs. It's not going to be as special as him, but can continue this, and that's what you need. I have a funny feeling that his son, Don Jr., is gonna be that at some point in his life. I think he's definitely interested in this stuff, and he's got the skills to do it. He's got the talent, he's got the charisma, he's got the name recognition, he's got a lot going for him. He might need to do a little something else. He might need to be a governor or a mayor or something. He might need to do a little something to boost himself a bit. So it'll be interesting to see. I know he's got a book coming out later this year, which will be interesting. But he's the most likely that's going to be that that 2.0, that Trump 2.0. But in between that time, we need to find somebody else.
And I do feel like his son over there. I feel like he probably is like. Honestly, I like him better than Trump in some ways. I think he's more pro-gun. But he does have some problems with. I think he actually did do some pretty shady shit.
I don't really know.
Correctly. Like, I think that would be my only concern. Cause he's the one who's getting like busted. His chops are getting busted over that like Russia shit.
Yeah, well, he did nothing. None of that. He has nothing to worry about with that. That was a nothing. Nothing happened. Like, I've been starting to read The Art of the Deal. I'll give a review of it when I'm done. But one thing I've learned from reading that is those people are doing meetings every like 15 minutes a day. They're doing a meeting with somebody. So he forgot about it. He thought it was nothing and moved on. It was nothing to him. It didn't amount to anything. There was no intent to do anything bad. It was nothing. I've met him. I shook his hand, took a picture. I don't know if I call that meeting him, but I did when he came to Penn State. You guys did too. I don't think Phil got a chance to, unfortunately, but he seems like a pretty decent guy. He's pretty personable, pretty nice, pretty cool. So
I like him.
I like him too.
Great person. I honestly probably like him more than Trump in some ways, but
I can't.
I don't think
Daddy will always be queen.
I don't think that he has. Like, he's got a little. I think he's gonna have a little bit of a hard time. There's just a lot of stuff going on. But I think I like his politics more than Trump's.
Yeah, that's where we have personal disagreements with that. Where I'm not quite as pro gung ho as you are, which is understandable from both sides. But it will depend on the time. That's the thing. It depends when he runs, because you can have the right guy at the right time with the right policies. That's when things work out. So it'll be interesting. But it's definitely, I would advise something people to not underestimate at all. His son has got this. He's got the stuff in him. He's got the talent. He's very much a little overlooked, I would say. But when he does give those speeches, people then remember how good this guy is.
I'm surprised that I could see that Crenshaw guy trying to do something.
He's the closest thing. I think he right now. I think right now, like if we stopped right now and graded, I would think Crenshaw is probably the highest graded congressman or politician, Republican politician, not named Trump. Right now, I would say I would say that.
I would tend to agree, except if you listen to him beyond the little clips you see of him, if you see him in a speech, he's a little dry. He's a little on the low energy side. Maybe he can change that, but
I think that'll develop over time.
It's definitely
I think
possible.
because he's new. You're forgetting he's new, and most new politicians tend to get a little dry when they first show up. Not everybody can be Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of he seems like he's the kind of guy that's just coming into his own, because he's starting to have a more of a feel about things. And but even then, even with all of that, I best. I still best guy not named Trump. Because I just thought you could say Lindsey Graham, but I don't think Lindsey Graham is really like
No, I can't
a
trust
presidential
him.
material
No,
kind of
no.
thing.
Yeah, he's nowhere close.
And
I
like
think
with Crenshaw, he has clout because he's with his military history and like there's something, he's got something behind him
Yeah.
that can go, okay, people will follow me if I say something.
Well, I hate to
And
put it this way, but the eye patch helps him.
Yeah, dude, he looks like a fucking mercenary.
Yeah, he looks cool, and he also, it helps distinguish himself. It separates him from all these other people. Even though he's kind of saying some similar things as other people, when you hear his name, you picture him immediately. You know exactly who he is and who he looks like. So I think he's definitely I would say probably the biggest star other than Trump, but I bet in a few years we'll see some other people that come up, but I don't see any. If Crenshaw had the energy, he'd be perfect. He needs that, or else he could, hurt greater prospects if he doesn't have that. But we might get to a time where we don't need that, but I think for a long time, energy is something just people gravitate towards. And I still think that's something that's always going to be true. But did you see any of these back to the subject? Then we'll move on to something that's a bit related.
Well, no, here's like one kind of last thing with that.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think it's really hard though. Like while you have someone as bombastic as Trump in office, like to really kind of break out and like go your own way, it's like more difficult because everyone's just like thinking
Fair.
Trump.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I mean, it is hard to live up to that, but you don't need to get that big. It's just you need a little something just to keep everybody awake in the room. I think I'd have to look at more clips of him to get a better analysis of this because I haven't looked at them in a long time of Crenshaw speaking, but he's a smart guy, capable guy, strong guy. There's a lot of great stuff going for him. It's just that one thing, it's like that one big missing piece of the puzzle, And if it was there, it'd be a perfect picture. But did you see any of these Comic-Con trailers, Phil? Because I know you follow a lot of this stuff too, like me.
I watched a few of them. I think the Watchmen one that's been around even before Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt that like that looked a little PR, politically correct. Like just the one of the characters is like very, I don't know. It's like there's only black and white or something like that.
Oh,
I'm like, oh, that made me cringe a little bit.
Yeah, I think it has a lot of potential, and that's why I say I think it'll be a big hit. But it's like trailers can be deceptive, but at a certain point you can kind of tell when something's gonna be good or not. This one I put in that sort of middle category of potential.
Yeah.
I think it will be good. I just think it'll be like, it might be one of those shows where like the first few seasons it's finding its footing a bit and then it like kicks into high gear. But we'll see. Did you see any of the other ones? Or
I saw Westwood. I saw Westwood. I liked the trailer, but I feel like I think they're adding to the storyline.
Yeah, it does look like a different show, doesn't it?
It does. So, I mean, it could be cool. I mean, but I just,
I'm afraid they might reach too far because like that's kind of what happened in season 2. Was it kind of got a little too much, too complicated, and a little bit more simplicity would have made it clear and more followable. But there was good stuff there. I think this third one, I mean, they definitely are expanding the world, but could kind of lose the whole feel of it, because it's going to have a different feel. Like, it almost looks like, a Blade Runner mixed with like Breaking Bad, you know? It's like, okay, we'll see how this goes. But I was shocked to see Aaron Paul. Now I didn't even know he was going to be in it. That like shocked me.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw, I was like, oh my god, you know, it's like, oh shit, he's going to be in it. But I think that'll be. He might give a pretty good performance. We'll have to see. I assume you saw the Top Gun trailer.
Yeah. I want to root for it. I want to root for it.
But you just quite can't.
Yeah, I can't because I'm like, I want to root for it, but there's something that just says cash grab.
Oh,
it's just
it
something
is.
that just
Yeah.
it just says cash grab to me.
It might see. I'm thinking it's going to go one of two directions. It's either going to be 100% cash grab, or it's going to surprise people. Where it's actually going to have a different, like, it's not going to be the same movie all over again. It's going to have it's going to do what a good sequel should, which is like expand the universe, take it in a bolder direction, make everything better. Like it actually has more potential than I realized. But like you said, I am pessimistic. While I'm optimistic, I'm pessimistic. It's gonna be interesting. It's like that Witcher one. I look at that and I go, love Henry Cavill, could be good, but I don't know. Has potential. That's what I kind of see in a lot of these things. It's like, has potential.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I hope none of these disappoint, of course, but you never know. I don't know. There really hasn't been much big stuff until all these dropped, and this looks like it's going to be a lot of our fall lineup in 2020 and beyond. This is going to be the stuff people are pretty much going to be talking about. I mean, that's what's interesting is that Comic-Con's not about comics anymore. As much as it is in the name, this is the stuff that comes out of it now, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I agree. It's and it's like YouTube. A lot of the stuff leaks on YouTube before it's supposed to go. So it's like, I don't know. I like the Walking Dead season 10. I think that was that they showed a preview for that. Like I'm like,
I've never been interested in that show ever. Did you ever watch it?
Yeah, no, I've seen a couple seasons of it, and I was like, well, and it's like the whole zombie thing's kind of like gone stale for me.
Same. It's never interested me.
Yeah. I know Amazon came out with Carnival Row, which was like some sort of, like some fantasy show about like something it's hard for me to
know.
Yeah, it's like it has Orlando Bloom in it and Clara DeVille, whatever her name is.
Okay.
But it's like, yeah, I think it's like it's got like carnival. I think it's got like carnival creatures in it, and there's supposed to be some sort of battle or something like that. I don't know. I'm like, At least it looks semi original ish.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, well, I mean, I don't have Prime Video, and I'm probably never going to invest in it. But
I would get for the Grand Tour,
mm-hmm.
which is well worth it. But yeah, you'll love this about because I googled the show's name. It said Cara Delevingne. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah,
My Carnival Row character is pansexual.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So
yeah.
She's sexually attracted to pans.
Yeah.
I mean, oh god.
I hate those like terms. Why can't people just be like bisexual now? And
because there are more than two genders. You can't have that now.
What the fuck does even like a demisexual mean? It sounds like a fucking demon.
It does.
Like sexually attracted to like Satan or something.
I honestly don't know. It's gone so wacky. Speaking of demons, though, there was a anime Arsonist that burnt down a section of Kyoto Animation, killed 33 people, and is now one of Japan's worst mass murders in decades. Oh man, that's as terrible as that is, it made for some hilarious headlines.
That's pretty crazy. Guess what? They didn't do that with a gun either. That people are like,
Yeah.
20 people died in Sandy Hook. That's never happened like anywhere without guns. But I'm just like, well, look at this.
Yeah.
Any sort of like gun to do this. Bad people do bad shit. But I don't know. I don't know how the anime community is going to handle that.
It said like anime anguish was one of the headlines. I'm just like, oh god, they're having too much fun with these headlines. This is terrible.
How are they going to watch their hentai now?
Yeah, like what's Japan gonna do with 2 less anime movies? Like, come on,
It's a
that's
drop
like,
in the bucket.
it's like, oh no. I mean, no, and tragedies are always tragic. I
Yes,
mean, of
yes.
course, but you know, but it's something. Of course, it did create a lot of funny headlines, or funny responses.
Yeah,
but,
more responses than
but it's
headlines.
like,
Correct what I
but
said
yeah,
earlier.
like, yeah, and yeah, with the guns thing, I'm like, look, it's like people don't like I tend to not like the gun conversation when it talks about when you compare other
Countries,
countries to the United States, because
yeah,
it's like for us it's different.
yeah.
It is a bill of right. That is our bill of right. Like, and we do have a culture that comes from hundreds of years of American constitutional law, and and we should have the right. I mean, of course we should have the right to protect ourselves, and every like and I hate having to cringe and wait for the next shooting of any kind or anything of any kind for these progressive weirdos to jump on the F guns bandwagon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so annoying. So always look for when to jump to it, and the same arguments get brought up over and over again, and it's like this is going nowhere. This is not solving anything.
Well, I don't think it's really like, and honestly, I don't think these like mass shootings are as big a problem as they make it out to be. Because if you look at like the amount of deaths in the United States from like mass shootings, it looks like a big scary number, like 300 people died a year. But like when you go and look at the like actual leading causes of death, that's like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just makes an emotional appeal because people don't like it when and no one really likes it either. Like when someone dies anyway, but like it for some reason, if you get shot by a gangster, or like one person shoots you, but it's worse if like one person shoots 30 people at once versus if like one person or one gang shoots like 30 people over time.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it's worse apparently than if you have a doctor who chops off your like the wrong body part and you end up dying in the hospital room. Because I think if I remember correctly, and I'm sure we'll have some fact checkers, well maybe we won't because it's not on the actual radio this time, but like medical malpractice is like one of the largest causes of death in the United States. I think it might be the largest. And I think like next up is like opioids or something. Like it is up. And like, that scares me more than like some guy doing a mass shooting. When you go to a doctor who you trust to fix you and you get some, you die in there because of something that should have been prevented. And it happens a lot. Like it happens a lot more than you'd think. Like I saw this documentary on it, and like people will die from like there's not just die, but they'll get severely maimed because some doctor did a stupid mistake because they overwork these people.
Mm-hmm.
And like interns. Like there was one in New York, like back in the day, and I think they actually this was so egregious so they fixed it. But like they used to have interns work like 80 hours a week or something in hospitals, and this one person was like sleep deprived because they worked I think just like one previous 24-hour work day, and I think they were still on there. And there was some woman who came in, and she had, it wasn't like anything majorly wrong with her, but like the doctor administered the exact opposite thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it ended up causing a bit of an issue because this person like died from it.
From a complication.
And like they were like they need one medicine to go. I don't know if it was like glucose or something. On it might have been blood sugar. Instead of like administering the thing to remove like blood sugar, they like added it to it. It was in New York. I forget the exact name of it, but it was like really scary because like the doctor did the wrong thing. And there's another case of some dude who had testicle cancer, and he went to the doctors to get his testicle that was cancerous removed, and they removed the wrong testicle.
Oh God.
So then they had to go back or remove both of his testicles. So now the dude's basically like, a transgender person without wanting to be transgender. So you got both the balls chopped off.
They sterilized him accidentally.
Yeah, and like stuff like that happens all the time where they're like cut off the wrong foot. And it's just like, oh shit, now you're gonna be completely like wheelchair bound the rest of your life because the doctor was being an idiot. And see, that stuff scares me more than the threat of a mass shooting, because it happens to a lot more people, and it's very much more so preventable. Like really, it shouldn't be that hard to see that. And like when people leave surgical instruments inside of your body after your surgery, like this happens surprisingly regularly.
Yeah, you don't hear about that a lot, but that's definitely a legitimate fear, honestly, because like, especially when they put you out, like you don't know what they're doing. You're trusting them. There's a lot of trust we put into them.
Because the liberal media doesn't, like, they have an agenda when they go and show these mass shooting cases, and it like this thing is it becomes a deadly cycle with these mass shooting cases. So you'll get like one guy commits a mass shooting, and then like you'll have headlines all over. Like, do you remember the what was it, the one in Charlotte? I don't know if it was Charlottesville. It wasn't the Charlotte's, not the alt-right rally thing, but
yeah,
the Unite the Right. It was like the one guy who shot up the black church.
Oh yeah, that was Charleston.
Dylan Roof.
Charleston.
Yeah, so that happened, and then there was another mass shooting that happened that a lot of media don't want to tell you about. There was a black guy who shot up a white church as revenge for that, and it killed like I think 7 or 9 people, and the media was completely silent on it because it wasn't a white guy who did it. And you can fact check me on this. So I have to, you can look that up. I remember seeing you have to go onto these like strange websites to find this information. Like I think the Chance, but there was links to actual headlines from like local media outlets, because like CNN doesn't want to tell you about that because they're biased.
Yeah.
Well,
it's I was talking to Sean about this the other day. And I think we might have talked about this a little too. The news articles that they really do, they run the narrative, but it's not. But I feel like, okay, so they run the narrative, and they like to push the fringe stuff because the fringe stuff gets views, it gets clicks, it gets all the attention. But I don't believe that is the fringe is obviously not it's not translatable to how the rest of the world feels. It's just, it's the fringe, so it gets views, so they're sad. But what ends up happening is like a lot of people that like watch this stuff, like a lot of the people that are in the middle, you get a couple of these guys that become weird after seeing it, like, oh my god, we should totally be socialist, or like, oh yeah, we should just get rid of guns or ban guns or whatever. Like, it's like, no, it's these guys are pushing this bullshit to sell advertising revenue, and you're gobbling it up like it's the fucking gospel. And it's like, but it's not translatable to how the majority of the country feels. And this go ahead, keep pushing this shit. That's part why Trump won in 2016. It'll probably be why he wins again in 2020.
Here's the thing. I don't think, like, we might have a quote unquote free market over here with a lot of things, but I don't think the news is exactly like free, at least not on the television. Like, it is completely biased. And a lot of countries, like, I think Hong Kong probably has a probably more free news than we have over here. And that's sad. Like, there is a lot, like, just look at it. There's, the only one that's slightly right leaning is Fox, and they're even wrong on certain, they're even like left on certain issues. Like, a lot of people on Fox News are actually pretty left wing, but you just get like maybe one or two people that are moderately right wing, and you think it's like, oh, it's this right wing network. And all the other news networks are like completely left wing, and they might have like one token like conservative on there, like the same way that Fox has Juan Williams.
Yeah.
But like, it is complete. It is not free the way that I think news was meant to be. Like, your local news stations, they might actually be, more one way, or like they might be more moderate, but like at least the national ones, they tend to be extremely, politically to the left.
Well, I think the difference, and I said this before, is that when you turn on CNN, when you turn on at 4 p.m., 6 a.m., 9 p.m., it's the same thing. Straight opinion. There is no division between news and opinion. When you go on Fox, there is at least, yes, it is right-leaning at times, but there is at least a division, a dividing line, a clear cut between news and opinion. When you're on the afternoon, it's news. They'll bring on some right-wing people, but it's news. Once you hit that 7, 8 o'clock time, usually it's more like the 8. It's actually the 8, I would say. Once you hit Tucker, that's when it's opinion. But it's clear that that's what it is, and that's when it is. At least they're just honest about it.
Well, I just kind of think a lot of these problems are created from the 24-hour news cycle.
It is, yep.
I think that, like, if you watched, I think it was Anchorman 1 or 2, I forget which one it was, but they kind of go in that, like, satirically, but it's actually pretty true because, like, there's only there's a lot of news in the day, but a lot of the news isn't, like, something that the news station would really even bother to have on there. It's, like, just a bunch of that people find meaningless. So, like, I think if we got rid of that news cycle, that would probably be beneficial. And the only way we could kind of do that is to get people to stop watching it.
Yeah, which is happening. Like, their viewerships are all down. They're in the toilets. They're doing terrible. Yes,
there's a lot. I mean, yeah, and we were talking about like a lot of, so like with the news where you had like, like a lot of the mainstream, like the news is mostly gone, really. And I mean, part of the reason is, one, because these big media companies, they have to survive. Like, you're not gonna push real news and survive. Like, with the big buildings.
Come on, they would survive. They pushed our
thousands of employees. You're not fucking surviving. Like, you got to push some bullshit to keep the bills paid. With a lot of these guys, and to YouTube. I mean, yeah, honestly, there's a lot. There's quite a few independent reporters reporting on YouTube. Like, they're like, and they have their own thing. Like, it's smaller. It's more. They're more involved. They're more into they have the ground game, and that's. I mean that, and they're doing decent. Like, you look at Tim Pool, right?
That's who I was immediately thinking of.
Dude, Tim Pool, he's made himself a decent chunk of change, and he was saying something like, I don't know how much he was making with some of the other news stations. Like, I think he was working for Vice and Fusion, and but he's made a decent living for himself now, and like. And knowing that these independent reporters can do that without having to, work for the New York Times or the Oregonian or anything like that. It's like, I would rather do that. Like, if I was a reporter, I'd probably rather do that instead of that. I mean,
some of them are doing that. Like, there's people like Cheryl Atkinson that just does stuff on her own now. She used to work for CBS. There is a space for that. It's just the problem is not enough people tune into these people. That's where you need somebody that has a lot of money, that doesn't care, that can create, doesn't care in a good way, that is. It's kind of like a Trump not care. You can do whatever you want. If they can create their own network with these sort of people, and they can be on TV
I,
so they can get that spotlight, or they can be on like a big website where they can get that spotlight.
well, there's a lot of these news stations are now becoming part of a bigger corporate game now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like, because you know, you have CNN being a part of Time Warner and MSNBC being a part of Comcast,
Right.
and like they're a part of a bigger political game or bigger corporate game. Whereas I like, honestly, I do. I like One America Network. Um One America News Network, I think it's called. But and but I, it's not on, like Comcast doesn't have it. And I think you have to get like DirecTV, or you have to get like Verizon Uverse or something like that. There's like a couple places that have it, like
Mm-hmm.
mainstream stream cable outlets. But I like it. Like it's a very, I like Liz Wheeler is like probably one of my favorite commentators as far as that goes, because there's a very news, like she not only reports on stuff and there is a little bit of opinion, but she also has sections where they have news articles that you just don't see
Mm-hmm.
in the mainstream media, because the media has their fringe narrative that they're going off of. And yeah, I like that.
It'd be cool
uh
if we got like a premium cable sort of thing, because that would be like a good. It would be a niche market, but it would get the money. You wouldn't have to worry about advertisers. That would be the route to go, is some sort of premium cable thing.
That's originally what cable was supposed to be. If you remember back
Exactly.
in the day, it was originally like, oh, you don't have advertisements anymore. I talked to my grandparents. They're like, oh yeah, that's what cable was originally built as, but now there's just full of advertisements. So I don't know what the hell happened, but like honestly, I think it'd be cool if, like, I know we've talked about this before, like, like a very particular like news network, because like a television network. So I think there is a benefit to having, like, there's a certain almost art form out of having a regular channel that you miss if you just watch like YouTube videos or like
Yes.
on-demand videos, because it's like an art form, because you'd have your programming in the morning, programming in the evening, programming at night, programming in the off hours. I think like there is, and you miss that with like YouTube, and that's why I hate, like, I don't really hate it, but like I could never go like just completely cut cable, because the fact that there's really like YouTube doesn't have their own like sort of channel system the same way that TV channel works. Like
Well, they're starting to with YouTube TV.
how does that actually work? So I've heard of it before, but I've never actually seen it in play.
Basically, it's kind of combines in a way Netflix with TV, live TV, because they have TV channels on there. Like, I'll use Fox News as an example. They'll have that. They'll have the live TV you can tune into on there, but they'll also have like shows that you can individually like watch the episodes. I believe I could be wrong on that last part, but I'll look it up now. But I do know it has live TV. That was the selling point of it. So but again, that's not, that's an alternative. Will it become bigger? I don't know, because they only have like 70 channels on there. They don't have a lot of channels. That's the biggest
What
problem.
else do you really need? Like, let's be real about this. Like, and I think
True.
it'd be nice, like, in a YouTube alternative. Like, what if we had a YouTube alternative where you could physically make channels? Like, you wouldn't create the content for the channels, but you could create like your own sort of custom stuff with the channels, where you go and like manually pick what gets played at what time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then you can get people to subscribe to the channel itself, and like the content creators would go, and you put like when like who would advertise there, and like maybe like when the advertisements would happen, and you get the person who physically configures the channel will get some sort of payment, and the content creators will get some sort of payment for when the advertisements play around their video slot. Like, see, that would be an interesting concept, because you get people who don't actually create content, but they create the
platform.
It signed, like, not really the platform. They create the channel, but they won't create the content. It's like, it won't be like a YouTube channel. It would be like a television channel network. Like, when you go and choose the advertisement, like the channel owner would choose the advertisements, and there'd be a lot of like legal things you'd have to work out too. Be like, hey, you'd have to probably get the channel's permission to run certain advertisements, and certain channels could just be like, we don't give a shit, advertise whatever the hell you want over here. And there'd be certain limitations, like you couldn't advertise like anything illegal, and there'd probably be certain things too. But I think it would be an interesting concept, because it'd create alternative streams of revenue. It would let people just like keep it on their television. They'd be able to go and watch this use the service and watch it like they would a regular TV, just without having to go and pick a new YouTube video every 10 minutes. They just keep it on this segment, and they would be able to find content. Like, it would just kind of show up in their feed or whatever it was, or on their like network they're watching. So like,
and as I was saying, the YouTube TV, it does offer live TV of over 70 networks. There's free unlimited DVR cloud storage, and you can individually watch episodes of a show, like after they've aired.
You say you can or you can't?
You can.
Oh yeah, like, see, like, I was thinking something like this, but like something like that, but instead of using like regular TV networks, this would all be, user-generated content, and then you would arrange the user-generated content into your own unique channels. And you could, like, if you want, you could do you could create your own content and do the channels without require you to have probably a lot of resources.
Yeah. Well, this is where you need some big billionaire to just come in that could just say, hey, we're going to finally get a home for all these sort of people, and it can just happen. It's not happen. There's no effort for it, and there's no innovation. The only innovation that's happening really is on the internet, but you're not seeing innovation in TV. It's still so static.
Like, no, that idea, and I actually would probably, I don't know if this could probably deal with its own like little mini episode kind of talking about this idea. Because, like, one, I know we've talked about our own like custom network before, and like the shows we would have. I don't know if we talked about that necessarily on here, but I know we had offline or like off YouTube conversations like about that one network. But I think this sort of concept would be unique enough to where it would stand out against all the other YouTube clones. But I think for right now, that would be best if we could get our own like sort of TV net, like maybe not, well, it won't be us, but it would be someone on the right would create their own like TV network. Like, if I had the money to do it, I'd pilot it now, because there's a lot of people just like to watch television. Like, I know a lot of people are cutting cable, but like there's a lot, especially like boomers and stuff.
Oh yeah, they're still on that medium.
They're highly susceptible to this stuff, because they just, they probably just see whatever's on Fox or CNN or MSNBC. They don't really pay much attention to it. But if we had our own, like, that's how you win a culture war. How you work with that stuff, you create these networks. And I think that would be an interesting sort of idea to get done. And I don't think it would be that far out of the ordinary. Like, that'd be that impossible to go and have your own network. Like, you just have to, get like either Comcast or Dish Network or Verizon to accept this network. I don't know the fees that'd be associated with that, because I don't know when the last time they actually create a brand new network. But
yeah, it would still, you could sell to them by how many subs you could get, because like with HBO, they get a lot of people. I mean, of course, they have the biggest show on TV was on there for the longest time, but you get enough subs, you can sell to these cable companies. They're gonna eat it up because of the money they could make from.
No, maybe,
yeah.
The problem is there's so much content on a lot of these guys, like AT&T, like Time Warner and Comcast now.
The one doesn't really make much of a difference.
Well, not only that, but if your popular shit is rubbing off on somebody else's shit, they're gonna lid you immediately.
Oh,
yeah. There's because like if they're already tied into a contract, if they're already locked into a contract with some other like show or channel or whatever, they're gonna. I mean, it depends. It really does depend.
They don't really have much right-wing content on these networks, and I think like
No, because
we were talking about that before. It'd be like what, like Milo in the mornings, and there'd be like some sort of like right-wing cartoons or something during the day. But not right-wing. It just wouldn't. It would be like there'd be no political shitting on this gay stuff where they have like
like Steven Universe.
Yeah, like Steven Universe. Which, by the way, I think we're gonna have to do a review of that or something.
Ooh, we should do a commentary over like an episode or something.
I'll just get like taken down by Viacom or the fuck it is.
You can get away with it. There's a way to get away with it. We'll figure it out.
But like I just want to have like regular shit like fucking Tom and Jerry, but like modern.
Yeah.
Like fucking Uncensored. This is for people who aren't like pussies who don't want to have these like children who are afraid to like watch anything violent but are okay with like gay sex on kids shows. That's what's going on fucking Steven Universe. That whole show is like a fucking abomination. Like I saw an episode, there was like these like intergalactic lesbians, like some dude in this van like taking this boy and this like Indian girl, and like there was a lot of like sexual allegories going on there, and then he was like banging these like lesbian aliens. It was disgusting.
Sounds like Alex Jones' like nightmare.
Yeah, like people give Alex Jones a lot of shit, but there's a lot of shit he's right about. And that's not even like I don't know if you remember Captain Planet.
I've heard of it.
That show is complete fucking propaganda. That was when I was a kid, like fucking 90s kid shit. Like
the power is yours.
That show is complete fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Like, I don't know how that got allowed, because it was like, oh, you see all these capitalists and these oil executives, they're evil people. Don't have more than one kid because that's bad for the environment. But the person who actually wrote the episode has like 5 kids. But don't pay attention to the guy behind the screen over there. Just pay attention to the cool little like dude who's some really stupid superhero. Like, I love how, and I wish Fox or something would have like brought that up, like, because if that happened today, people would actually say something about it. We have YouTube and we have like different views like that. Like, there's a right-wing movement today. But this is back in the 90s when Bill Clinton was in office, so it was probably like just ignored or thrown under the rug.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is now we're finally starting to fight back, but it's like we still need to fight back, and like we said, where we create our own networks, we do our own content, and it's pushed out there more. One other thing, though, because we have like 2 more things we want to talk about, but in relation to all this sort of cultural stuff, it was announced right after we did our last show that a black female actress is going to play 007 in the next Bond film, Bond 25. Now, there are some little details I need to sort out, too, to make it clear. The biggest is that she's playing 007, which is his James Bond's code name, but she isn't technically replacing James Bond, the character. He's, like, in retirement, and she's taken over his job, basically, and he comes out of retirement. And I assume at the end of the story, there's a bunch of things that could happen. But stuff like this information, doesn't get leaked. Like, accidentally. I think this was an intentional leak, because I think what they're doing is they're testing the waters on whether to make the next Bond a female, and now also black too. And I think they're testing the waters because really, I don't know how this story could end, because this is Daniel Craig's last Bond film, and Danny Boyle left the movie because he was the original director. He left it because they wanted to kill him off at the end. So it's, I don't know. It's very, I don't know where it's going to go.
I've loved the James Bond series. I mean, I was not a big fan of Daniel Craig's. I feel like when he came in there, it became more of an action movie. And it wasn't really just him. It started happening with, I think, the last 2 guys. They had like the dude who used to play Batman. He was one of them, I think, for a time. But like, Honestly, I feel like James Bond's kind of been on a slow decline because like now it's almost like a Jason Bourne movie. But I think this will be way over the top. I think that they are trying to float these ideas because the BBC is running it, and the BBC is known for being racist and sexist. Like they don't want white men to apply for certain positions.
I don't think it's the BBC has anything to do with this. I think it's the what's that company called? I think it's MGM.
I thought the BBC owned Bond or is in some way related to James Bond, other than just being British. I thought that was the case.
No, it isn't. I think the thing that happens with these things is like the studio has owned the movies, the Broccoli production company has owned it, but the distribution has changed like 15 times. It will be Sony, it'll be 21st Century Fox, MGM. It'll like flip around to so many hands. I forget who has it now. I doubt it's the BBC, but the I do think this is pandering, like you're kind of alluding to here. It's very pandery, and I think they're literally trying to think of how to rejuvenate the series and change it a bit and make it different because it's kind of the same old over and over again now at this point. But they're doing it in a way that's not improving the quality. It's just
I had a problem with with the Men in Black International or
ooh, I
something
heard
like
about
that. That was where you had a female spy with that. Like the movie's called Men in Black, and it's like you have somebody in
Simple man.
charge. You have somebody in charge who's a woman, and then you have one of the main agents who's a woman. Like it's like it's definitely it's confusing. Like figure it out, please. No, and I'm like, either name it something else. You can name it something
Exactly.
else, but I mean, it's the brand, like the
Yeah.
brand the MIB, and they're trying to force diversity with a well-known brand. But yeah, with the Bond thing, I just like the spy thing is just played out, and there's so much content too. It's like, well, it's never going to receive that kind of clout again, just because there's just so much stuff to it. Like, I mean, I'm sure it'll be marginally successful, but I would think that like
Honestly, I feel like if they went back to their old formula where it was like, so you look at some of the more original Bonds, like there was some comedy elements in some of the older ones.
They're usually very comedic.
But the new ones have just been like way too, they take themselves too seriously. I think that's part of the problem. They've lost what made them unique. Because no other one, like unless you go and watch like an actual like parody movie, none of them are like, have that sort of comedy, unless you watch like Johnny English or something.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's just kind of like a one or two off film, but this is a series. And I don't know, I don't like the way things have been going where it's like, oh yeah, it's okay just to go and remove like straight white male, like iconic characters and replace them with like, all these other ethnic groups. And it's just, it's a terrible, like just thing. It's destroying like, who are straight white men supposed to look up to these days? Like they just keep destroying everyone. It's like, oh, okay, so now they're, this character is gay or this character is, no longer this, and it's not even being unique. Like they could make a movie about a black spy, and I'm sure there probably has been, but they're being lazy about it. Like make another one. Don't have it be like James Bond. Have it be like, Jasmine. I don't know. Bellman or something, or and then have it be like 00 like 8 or something, because they have like 1 through I think 9. I don't know about the source material, but you could easily create like a separate entity for that. You could create a female 00 agent. It just won't be
Bob. Well, that's what I've always thought. Why don't they make it a separate number? Like that's happened before. Why can't they do it again?
I could just start like a whole new series. I don't think it's really necessary. I I don't know. I just think that this is a lot of just political shit that's being introduced into movies that doesn't need to be there. I think that's part of the problem.
Well, it's that it comes mainly from laziness. They don't want to put in more effort to do the hard stuff to make things better, which is the writing, the characters, whatever, the story. They want to do stuff like this that gets a little controversy, that gets people, it in the headlines in a cheap way, and it doesn't really okay. On the one hand, it does change things, but on the other, it doesn't, because it doesn't change the actual content you have necessarily, but if they're going to replace Bond with her, which is what I think they're setting up. That's my gut telling me that, but I think they're also testing the waters right now. You completely change the character. It's simply not the same character if it's a female. I mean, let's leave race out of it. But
that's the entire dynamic of Bond, where it's like just this dude who's like banging all these girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be like replacing Mean Girls with like a bunch of dudes. Like, yeah, it sounds like it would work on paper, but unless you know how people actually act in real life, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't just see some, just this group of dudes being passive aggressive and bitchy to each other. That would just be that'd be cringe. That's like something that Andy would try to do because they don't understand how real people work. Like, it's just bizarre.
Well, and the other thing too is that, like I said, they could create another agent, just call her 008, because they already had a 006. They can create another agent for her. She doesn't have to replace his codename. I thought the codename was exclusive to him and the agents, and they kind of lived and died with them. So that doesn't make any sense. And yes, he has been played by different actors, but it's still the same character. It's not like Doctor Who where he sort of regenerates and he can kind of come out as anything. In this, he is the same character, this sort of traditionalist that's always against the changing world, and that's what makes the character interesting. Why are we changing that? Why, if you want to, make a different character?
He's against a changing world, and like they're literally trying to go and change. Like, that would be a really interesting story. Like,
I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm just gonna come out and say it.
Say it.
They want that. No, it's liberal Hollywood wanting to destroy the patriarchy. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, because he is.
It's exactly what it is. They could do their own shit, but they don't want to. They want to destroy anything that even slightly resembles some sort of patriarchy. Which, like, honestly, I think that's kind of bull. Their patriarchy opinion is kind of bullshit too. But it's like who, like, somebody, like, why destroy something good just to prove a fucking, like, just to try to
pander
to the PC crowd,
which is pretty disgusting that they view those people that way, where they're like, oh, we're not going to create your own thing, we're going to put in something else and replace something else to give you this.
Screw the patriarchy is evil.
Yeah,
just get rid of it all.
Yeah, I know, and that's
why they tried to create that gay Ghostbusters movie with all chicks in it.
Oh god,
like, the one that did terrible, and then the people that the women were complaining, they were reviews. Like, no, they were just pro-Trump or conservative reviews or something like that.
No,
and I was like, okay, bad. No, I watched the movie. It's shit. The movie is shit. Okay, that's all it is. And it's like, no, call it what it is. Call the fucking spade a spade. If it's a shit movie, it's a shit movie.
That's why I think they're doing this, so that it'll get like positive reviews from liberal Hollywood. And it's like the same thing with the fucking Black Little Mermaid. It's just over again there. And I think the Little Mermaid probably was like, oh, hey, I see Disney's doing this pandering. Hey, let's see if we can one up this. So instead of just being a different race, let's have a different race and gender.
I know.
Does not make any sense for how James Bond really kind of plays out. But who cares? It's the year. It's the current year. White men need to go away. So here we go. Now this is what's appropriate now.
I have a feeling they might. Like I said, I don't think the end of this movie's been written yet. I think, again, they're testing the waters to see if they want to hand the baton over to her. I think there is like a 50-50 chance here. I think there's a 50% chance that they back out of it, 50% chance they go with it. It's, I don't know. They might actually shoot multiple versions, and then do test screenings to see which ending they're going to go with. I think this is more of a calculated decision. It's, in the sense that they haven't fully committed yet. But on the flip side, this type of thing, if we want to talk about some patriarchy, Miss Michigan was stripped of her title for, quote, racist tweets. And she said on Twitter that they, quote, stripped me of the Miss Michigan title due to my refusal to try on a hijab in 2018, my tweets about black on black gun violence, and insensitive statistical tweets, unquote. Now, you want to know what her name is? Katie Zhu. She is Asian. She is a Chinese immigrant. But she's a Trump supporter, so she's the wrong type. And so they didn't like her getting the award, and they took it away from her. It is disgusting.
Yeah, I think that's kind of funny where they can do that shit, but like they can fine you, they can demote you for not wearing like a anti-female symbol. Like that's like the hijab. That is a symbol that is
that's a patriarchal symbol.
Yeah, it's against female expression. That's basically what it is. It's saying, hey, women, you need to go and hide yourself because it's you don't want to be perceived as immodest. Like,
yeah. And
we're having these discussions in 2019, the same time that we were having like, female James Bond over here. They're also this shit. So it is real, and it's really fun too because she's also a she is a minority in America.
No, not to them anymore. This was pretty disgusting. Since these people, they are the most, you could argue, privileged demographic. They're doing better than anyone, but can't have that,
Yeah, if you're successful and you're a minority, like your group is successful, they don't consider you a minority anymore, even if you're physically like a minority. And I'm surprised, like more like, and you'll find a lot of like quote unquote like based Chinese people out there. Like, I think, well, wasn't there like another story this week with some sort of shenanigans from like?
Oh yeah, you sent me that. Yeah, I forget what that guy said. He was based.
It was like the Chinese. It was like the consul or something. I don't know if it was in America, but they were like criticizing. It wasn't even like that. It wasn't even bad. I don't think. He was basically saying that the white people in D.C. they don't live where black people live because I forget why, but they like, someone said it was racist, but like he was commenting on the fact of that, and they were like flipping out over his comments. And this wasn't even America, mind you.
Yeah.
This guy, I think, like the Chinese consulates, like Pakistan.
He was He was too woke for them.
Like there's a YouTube channel that I was watching the other day. It was like was it Asian Capitalist, and there's a lot of really based like Chinese people out there and like Asian people, but they're kind of forgotten about.
Well, and the thing also is happening is that not only are they forgotten about, but the whole entire, of all the minorities, they are the most discriminated against minority. But by whom? The left. They are at Harvard discriminating against them. The beauty pageant's discriminating against them. It is because they're doing too good. They're doing too good, and they don't like that. And they don't see them as minorities anymore. It's pretty disgusting. And, especially when then you have a different opinion, they don't like that. They are conformists that want control over these people, and it's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
But we're the racist ones, remember that? I'm getting called the leader of the white pride movement for saying that chopsticks are dumb, to bring back, full circle to Asians here. And I love Asians. Like, I have no problem with them at all. I mean, it's just, it's silliness. It's total projection on their part.
It's becoming bad now. Like the whole, like, they'll blame Trump, like, oh, Trump is making racial tensions go up. That's bullshit. That's the left who's been doing this shit. And it's just starting to play out now because people have woken up to what's really been going on. Whereas back years ago, people like they just didn't know what was really happening. So like a lot of people, like unless you went to college, you didn't really know what was going on in college. Now we have like Project Veritas, and people are like, hey, wait a second. That college I'm spending like my retirement money on, so my kid can go there and get a hopefully better life than me. Why is he learning that? I'm an evil bigot, and why is all this stuff being taught to my kids?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going on in college. A lot of that. Now, not every class, but like
Of course.
you kind of like a sex ed class turns into a political.
Oh God.
It was a political propaganda course taught by like some gay guy teaching you like sex ed and like all sorts of gender politics in there when it has no necessity to be in a sex ed course. Sex ed should be like, here's biology, like here's penis, here's vagina, this is sex. Babies come out. You can use these devices to prevent pregnancy. Here's what happens when you use these devices. Here's why here's sexual diseases. Be careful about these. Try not to have sex with, unprotected sex with lots of people when you'll take the risk of getting these diseases. Oh, hey, here's what chromosomes do. Here's how here's how people get born. That's in my mind what a sex ed class should be. But from what you've told me, that was not how the sex ed class actually took place.
No. It started off with ethnocentrism, and then we got into like genders on a spectrum and a social construct and all these other things. The biology part of it was a few days. There were many. Look, he was a very cool guy, but he was terrible at teaching. Actual, sex ed. Like it was terrible. It was a joke. He was teaching stuff that was blatantly false and inaccurate. I mean, there were, glimpses of sunshine coming through these dark clouds at times where things were useful, but it was mostly just garbage. Waste of time. But hey, I got my 3 credits in, or my 6 credits, I should say. No, wait, no, it is 3. It was 3 credits. So don't take a gym class or a health class again. But, yeah, but you know what? The good thing is, though, is the only positive to this is that when you have this sort of hostile environment toward people of our kind, is that, we can then have fun as forming a counterculture movement against it by bringing people with these provocative and interesting opinions. So next year, oh my god, it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be insane. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be so much fun when the counterculture movement really heats up with some speakers we intend to bring. It's gonna be so much fun. Not to plug my own thing here, but you can push back against these people. That's what we can't forget. Is you can push back, and you must, or else they get away with it, and everybody else gets brainwashed in the process. Like you are literally doing a honorable act by doing some of the things we plan to do in the upcoming semesters.
I agree. Someone needs to be fighting against this, and the mainstream, Republican parties, they don't give a shit. They don't know what's going on. They're a bunch of boomers, and they're just like, oh, here's stuff that's happening. I don't care. It's stuff. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I see. They just kind of let it happen, and that's a sad thing. They just let the left win. They don't fight back. They're and like that's the thing too. Like the right, we don't celebrate our victories. It's like we'll be criticizing ourselves more than we're criticizing the left.
Yeah.
You very rarely see this in the left. Now you're starting to see this with the Squad versus the establishment Democrats, but we've been basically having that same conversation for the past 8 years with Trump. Where it's like, oh, Trump won, but I don't think he's a principled conservative, not principled enough for my conservative value. Get that shit out there, and it's just like, oh no. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that matter.
You have anything else to say, Dictator Phil?
Free ASAP Rocky.
Yes, he did tweet that. That was funny, but good at the same time. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more real news.